Hello. Welcome to another level up video. This time, as you can see, we managed to get the PlayStation Classic, which is something that I've been waiting for. It's an awesome little system. It brings back a lot of memories, but that's just one of the many reasons why we went and got this. Look at all the stuff it comes with. You got the system, 2 controllers, there's a power supply. No, not really a power supply, it's like a USB and then HDMI cables. But I thought it was messed up that they didn't give you a power supply for the USB to power it up. You have to like plug it to either a USB hub or probably use one of those phone cable chargers that you plug to the wall. It says it has 20 classic games, but we gotta change that. You could pretty much add a lot more games into this, and not just more PS1 games, but you could add games for Super Nintendo, NES, Neo Geo, arcade games, Genesis. Yeah, it could do a lot, and I was actually intrigued by that, so, oh shoot, why not check it out and do it ourselves? It's so small, though. It's like, I guess when I was a kid it was pretty big enough, but now that I'm handling it, yeah, thing. So used to like the PS4 controllers, they're a little bit wider and bigger. Pretty cool little layout there. Show you what it looks like when you first start it up. You get a startup screen showing what language you want to put it on, and then the console button guide after that, and then you pretty much are greeted to all the games that it shows. But we are about to change that, because as you can see, it has a good decent amount of games, but we want more. Alright y'all, so we're going to be showing you how to do the BleemSync mod for the PS Classic to be able to install more games. You go to modmyclassic.com, I'll put the link at the description below. You scroll down, and there's going to be 2 files you want to download. It's going to be this one right here, the BleemSync 1.1.0, and then also the custom kernel. What I would suggest is that you save it to your desktop, that way you can see what you're doing, which I have done here. It turns to a zip file, but you want to unpack that zip, that way you have that folder here. That folder shows BleemSync, and then you'll also have this lboot, which is that kernel one, but we'll talk about that later. Right now what we want to do, get a USB drive. It could be 8, 16, 64, however large you want it. And I've noticed that the USB drives, the PS1 Classic is kind of picky on what it wants. I happen to use a PNY 16 gigabyte regular USB stick. I believe it's 2.0, and it works just fine. There's also another one from Samsung. It's like a 128 gigabyte little thumb drive. But let's get back to it. USB drive, this is the one that I have. What you want to do is format it first. Go to format. You want to format to FAT32. Leave that allocation unit size. Call it Sony. Otherwise, apparently the PS Classic won't read it. So, and then just hit start. Yes. Hit OK. And bam, format complete. USB stick is ready. You want to open up this folder right here, and then you're gonna want to drag and drop these 2 folders. So make sure you get them both, and let it do its thing. Now, depending on how fast your drive is, it could take a little bit longer than others. This one's saying about 2 minutes, so and as you can see, it is done. Alright, so after this point, you could close this folder up. This is still the Sony drive. You could close that folder up, and then we're gonna pop this sucker into the PlayStation Classic. Oh, just as a FYI, part of the reason why we're also doing this route is to be able to have OTG support, which is basically using a 2-in-1 micro USB cable and plugging it to the back of your PS1 Classic, so that it allows you to not only power your PS1 Classic but also power your USB stick that you're going to have all your games in. Without this, you'd have to use the second port on the controller side to be able to play your games, and you're pretty much stuck with just playing 1-player games. But this allows you to free up that second port so you can still play 2-player games, and we'll go from there. Now that we've done that part of the modding, I had unplugged the PS1 Classic, took out the USB stick, and then put it back on my computer. It'll open up your USB folder, Sony. As you can see now, you got BleemSync, the hashtag, and logs. One of the first things you want to do in this stage is you go to BleemSync, and as you can see, there's a backup folder. This pretty much has all your original stuff that the PS1 Classic had before you modded it. What you want to do in case of any little thing that could go wrong, you want to back this backup folder. So what I would do is just copy one onto your computer. And that after you've done your backup, you want to go to your update folder. This is now where the LB boot file comes in. You're going to want to drag this sucker in and put that in the update folder. So as you can see, Sony, BleemSync in the update folder. Once it's done that, we're ready to do our next phase on the modding. Alright, now that we have our USB ready with the BleemSync mod, what you're going to want to do is plug this sucker right over here. Also, make sure your power cable is completely off, and plug the sucker into your second port, and then plug this sucker in to the power supply. Wait till you see a light signal. Boom. I will advise, once this starts loading up and doing its thing, just let it be. It's going to take a little bit, but you just got to be patient. Once it's done its thing, the light will turn off for a second, then it'll turn back on. That's when you know you're set and we can go on to the next phase. As you can see, also it's doing its little Christmas light, green and red. That is totally fine.
11 minutes later.
And you can see that orange. We are good to GO to the next stage. Alright, so as you can see, we're back at our USB stick. Once you've initially loaded BleemSync on your PS1 Classic, you'll get this new folder called Transfer. That's where you're going to want to start putting your new games in. For example, I have this Street Fighter Collection and Street Fighter Alpha 3. So what we're going to want to do is just drag and drop those games into the transfer folder, let it do its thing.
5 minutes later.
Alright, now that that's done, as you can see, we got our included games into our transfer folder. Now, when you have these games boot up on your PS1 Classic, it's not going to show the artwork, but there's a little fix around that. I went to a Google Drive here. What you're going to want to download is the default thumbnails drive and put it on your desktop. Once you got that downloaded, unzip it, and then you'll get the folder. These are all the covers that they were able to get for any games for the PS1. What we're going to do is pretty much, you're going to want to go to BleemSync folder, then you're going to want to go to the OPT folder, then PSC Transfer Tools folder, and then finally Covers folder. Here you see there's just default, but what you're going to want to do is just grab all of them and drop it into this folder. So I'll do a Control A, grab it all, then just drop it. Like I said, this is really mainly for aesthetic. If you want to have covers for your included games, it just makes it look nicer when you're going through your library. Otherwise, I believe you just get a blank screen. Alright, once that's done, it's pretty much ready. And we're going to test out what we can do. Now, what we're going to do, this is the cable I was talking about. We're just going to allow you to plug this sucker right here. And then plug the power. You should see that orange light go up, or go on rather. And there's the BleemSync. Now you got RetroArch and BleemSync. You go to BleemSync. At this point, hopefully it's loaded up our games, and what do you know? You got Street Fighter Collection and Street Fighter Alpha 3. Let's test it out, yeah? Look at that. We got Street Fighter Alpha 3 running on the PS1 Classic.
Street Fighter Alpha 3!
Show you a little bit of... Man, this used to be one of my favorite fighting games.
Select your character.
See how it goes. Going through it so you can see how well it runs, because obviously it's just running straight off the PS1 Classic. Look at that. Full-fledged PS1 game. Hope you enjoyed this little video, and catch you on the flippity flip.